pharmaceutical companies, food companies, Oprah, the government, Putin, Biden, whoever supposedly is in power. What the voice of God tells me is they're all full of shit. That, when we talk about the light worker community, the whole, divine, I don't make anybody mad, I never have any feelings, I'm completely centered, and I'm enlightened, that's crap. I am the Christ in the context of the narrative, in the journey. I remember all of the, being Father's firstborn son, and I remember the whole thing as it unfolded. But the reason I'm so adamant about that is because so are you. There are two aspects inside of you. One will tell you at every turn the lie that you most want to hear. But there's also a part of you, a voice inside of you that is completely and totally about love.
I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher 33, warrior of truth and the Grand Illusion. And I am honored to share another revelation conversation with writer, philosopher, researcher, master of the ancient sciences, lost wisdom, and keeper of the great arcanum, Jonathan Johnson.
Jason, man, it's nice to be back, man. This is really fun every single time we do this.
Every time it's an adventure. Mm-hmm. And today, this might be something a little different. This might be the Shadow Teacher 33 episode.
Yeah.
You alluded in an earlier episode that I lost my job earlier in the year. And this has just been a year for me of just really having my life turned upside down. I've had things pull me in certain directions only just to have something flip-flop, and yes, in the world of purpose, of finding my way through the matrix, and in the world of and romance. We did an episode on Eros, and I alluded that I was falling in love, and both in the area of career as well as love, I found a twist of fate. I found how easily something can turn and go the other way. And today, I'm speaking from a place of feeling a broken heart, feeling empty. Empty yet after doing something that really gets applauded as being super masculine and super the right thing to do, when one is feeling they're getting disrespected or jerked around in a relationship. I'm talking about walking away, walking away and not looking back, and walking away and meaning it. I did that, but right now I'm feeling, again, just an emptiness inside of me. I'm feeling this pain that is not full. I'm feeling, like sometimes people have something to walk towards. Right now, I've got both feet into the abyss and don't know if I'm going to hit the bottom, don't know where I'm going, and it's kind of scary and it's dark. But yet I know the right thing was done. I did the right thing, but I feel horrible. You talked about being in this place yourself at some time. Do you have any insights to share with me right now on a personal level?
Yeah, I mean, your name, Shadow Teacher 33, that's kind of sums it up in the area of, to me, your title actually means self-mastery. It means going in, confronting the shadow, dealing with the issues that you find inside of you. And so, first of all, I mean, that stuff you're going through right now is really challenging and extremely painful. There's no easy way around how difficult it can be to love someone, to really deeply connect with someone, and then have to let it go. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers have had similar experiences where you give so much of your heart and your soul to an individual, It could be even work. It could be a lot of different things. But in your case, you know, you really, you gave them your extra time, your extra attention, all the love you had, the listening you had. You really put a lot into it, and to just have to just split and do something different is incredibly painful. So first of all, I just want to commend you for having the courage to do that, because most people will hum-ha around or, you know, take it, just let it be the way it is. And that's, you know, a lot of our culture is faces the struggle of codependency, where we feel like if we don't have an other, if we don't have someone that loves us, it's incredibly lonely, but it can also be very painful because we're so programmed to be loved by others. And so it started from when we were a baby, from our mother. Because if you don't have love, you won't actually survive. So the feelings you're feeling are completely and totally. I've had similar things happen to me, and walking away was. I had a period where I was needing to do that for 6 months or a year, and I just couldn't do it. But I finally I figured it out, and I understood that it was time. And then it took me a lot. So you really have to be proud of yourself and commend yourself for even walking away, because some people can't even get to that stage. It takes forever just to have the courage and strength to say, all right, I'm not doing this. So, I mean, you took a huge step in just, it's almost like just, I'm sure you feel like you just stepped off the cliff, didn't you?
Absolutely. That's what I feel like.
And just a free
at this
fall.
moment. Yeah. And like you said, love is something that we need. And it starts with us. Again, we're going to get into that in this conversation of learning how to love ourselves again. And, you know, what I'm finding, and I've been at this place before, and that's another frustration when you feel like you've mastered a lesson, but it keeps showing up for you and keeps showing up. And this time I did something different. And again, the follow through, well, you know, what's yet to be seen is how things progress. But that's all in how one follows through, as to see what shows up on the other side of this. But right now, like I said, I gave my heart, I gave my time, I gave my soul to someone, and it was very, very painful. And I made the choice to walk away from things as they were, but I feel like there is an empty space in me now. And I felt like I was dying that night when I did it. Like I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was going to die, and I wanted to die. I actually did not want to be here. And I think it goes back to the need for love, the need to have that love reflected back. And you know, again, going back to the parental love. And here I am, a couple of days after, I'm still here, but that pain is still there. What I'm finding is each day gets a little bit better than the one before it. And the temptation sometimes is to go back into old behaviors, to go and reach out and go back on your word, even though you know it's the wrong thing to do. But so far I've been able to stand strong in my choice, but it hasn't been easy. And I'm saying this, I think it's important to talk about this because, you know, a lot of times you hear this from people when they're way on the other side of it, but you're actually getting to see someone who's doing this right now, and it sucks. Sometimes the right thing absolutely sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed the amount of pain that it induces is equivalent to the lack of how much you've been forgetting to love yourself.
Yes.
So that's always proportional. I've noticed that the more codependent we've learned to be as we grew up, the more it hurts, because it's a need. It's something that we feel we got to have in order to survive. So learning to master self-love is actually, you first have to master your shadows, which is why I love your title, because the only way to self-love is you have to face all the things that tell you, make you believe that you're not loved, in order to break the habit of looking out here for love and going here. But it's always really hard to flip that around, because your mind wants to say, I could text them, or I could call them, or I could reach out, right? But every fiber of your being just says, no, that's not the right way to do this. And that's the first step in switching from thinking that others decide your value and that you are loved by their behavior towards you. And that's when you start trying to look back at yourself and inside yourself. So when you don't feel loved, you have to learn to love yourself. When you don't feel valued, you got to value yourself. And as you start doing that, it takes a while, and it's very difficult. But once you get the hang of finding approval, value, and love here inside of yourself, you won't look for it outside there anymore. And then the right people who don't do that either will start to come towards you. And they'll love you just for being you, not because you fit a certain criteria or a certain mold, or you do this or that the right way. They'll actually love the real you because you know who you really are. They'll reflect it back.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Again, I struggle with codependency. That's something that I learned from, I guess, looking at getting love from parental figures. In my case, it was my father that had a hard time showing love, and I also, some adults in my life and these relationship dynamics modeled this, and I learned it. And again, just like you say, getting into relationships where you lose yourself and don't realize you're doing it sometimes. You can go in really strong and have a good sense of yourself, and then next thing you know, you're just starting to give too much to accommodate the other person. And when you lose that love for yourself and you forget who you are, essentially, other than what that person's reflecting back to you, all of your value, all your self-worth and love is coming from this external source that could take it away just like that. And this is a very painful dynamic and an unhealthy dynamic to be in any kind of relationship, whether it be romantic or friendship or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a very painful place to be, and it's something I've worked on for a while, and I realize when that's starting to happen. But the thing you have to do is to create some space and learn how to find yourself again. Right now, again, I'm in the darkness, and I don't see any light. So for someone who is in the darkness and has forgotten who they are, has forgotten how to show up for themselves, who has forgotten how to value themselves and actually love themselves, what would that look like? And you can talk to me specifically right now.
Okay. Well, in order to find the light, you have to go into the darkness to find it, because it's usually hidden within us. So when we're looking outside for validation, for love, for intimacy, for all the things that we think will fulfill us, we're trying to find things here that reflect, something that we feel we needed to feel whole, to feel complete. But the challenge is to change that, you have to change this first. So by going inside, and I think it's kind of interesting, your title, Shadow Teacher. Before you can do that, you have to go in and face those things. You have to face the fears, the things that you think you can't live without. Because how else are you going to learn to be self-sufficient and self-centered if you don't first shake yourself loose of needing people? You know what I mean? If you want to be contained and balanced as an individual, you have to first lose, because that'll show you and teach you how to find your center again, to get your balance again. Because right now, you're free falling, or you're looking into the abyss. So I often tell clients the first thing you have to do is do the opposite of what you've been doing. So if you're used to accommodating and reaching out and helping and doing anything to see them, you got to stop doing that first. Stop the old habit, and then somehow learn anew, whether you watch people that know how, or someone that has that skill set, or videos, and then start learning how to do it differently. But as a rule of thumb, what I do is I do the exact opposite of what I've been doing, because definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result, right? That's the
okay.
definition.
So let's look at the opposite. For someone who reaches out, who's overly accommodating. Right, well, let me go here first. I'm finding you have to lose, like you say. There's a part of this, you have to learn to sit with this pain and loss, but what you realize, like, I'm okay without this. I got through a day. I didn't go back to those old behaviors. I didn't have this person affirming me, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that's the first step, is just learning to deal with the loss, but realize you're still okay? Say, this may suck right now, this may hurt, because it is a loss, but like maybe allowing yourself to grieve the loss initially, so you're not faking that.
Yeah, grieve, wail, cry, anything that you can do to get it all out, because it's like a bunch of weight hanging on you that you really have to drag around. But if you can cry it out, get it out of your system, it gives you a little more strength to persevere and keep going. The fundamentals of being a hero, or in your case, a shadow teacher, or a guru, or an enlightened person, or a teacher of any sort, however you want to define that thing, you have to have done the hard stuff. You have to have suffered. You have to have seen challenges, overcome challenges, and learned what the wisdom was behind it. So when you have a situation like yours where it seems like the pain is so immense, you have to notice that you're not, like you said, you're not dead. It didn't kill you. My mom always had a saying, my biological mother, she always would say when I was growing up, she'd say, well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's just a funny thing that my family always says, because she says it so often, but that's just it. We've noticed in this path it's about changing your mindset completely. So if you feel you need someone all the time, and there's that neediness, that codependent fear of being alone, that's the first thing you better face, because you face that and then you're free of it. It's not hounding you every day. So getting okay with you is step one. You know the saying, know thyself. That's actually the first step in enlightenment, is know thyself. Get to know thyself. That's why in the past I said, love thy enemy as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself, because we're all the same. It's just how we respond to what life gives us that makes us different. So in your case, changing your mind about how you feel about it all. I think I expressed that to you a day or two ago. It's, we should be able to go into relationships. You know how when you go into them, they're so happy, so you're falling in love. It's so exploratory, so beautiful. But then when the end comes, everybody fights and kicks and screams and throws a fit. That's because they've been conditioned to lose is the end of life as you know it. But it's not. So learning to go into a relationship with grace and learning to exit them with grace is the sign of a balanced person that's not codependent, because they know that life is transitory and that people come and go in their life. So what I do whenever I have to transition relationships, I thank it, I honor it, I cry it, I grieve it, but then I say, now what? Because if that was that amazing, I can only imagine what I have coming in the future that could be even more beautiful. And for me, that's just how things are. I never go I never leave something and do less. I always go up. I'm always trying to do better, be better, have better relationships, meet better people. So if a relationship was great, then I know the next one's going to be sensational or, profound. So I always keep my attention where I want it, not where this world tells me I should put it. And that's exactly what made it possible for me to do a lot of the things in my past lives. Was this too shall pass. If I can just keep breathing, if I can just get through this, if I can just stay focused, just give me the focus. I have a prayer that I've never shared with anyone, and I don't do it as much as I did in the past, but I used to end my prayers with, Father, Mother, grant me the strength, the courage, and the peace of mind to do that which I am about to do. Because to me, that summed up the entire process of what I had to undertake and what I had to do sometimes. When things got really challenging, it wasn't that I wanted the circumstance to be made easier for me. It's that I wanted the courage, strength, and peace of mind to actually be able to do that thing. There's another saying that says, great men don't pray for easier lives, they pray to be stronger men. So, in other words, rather than wanting your world and your circumstance and all these things to change, change this. Change this. If you change this, this is your sword. Your head is your sword, your mind. So if you can change the way you believe, the things you think are true, you can change your whole reality. That's how miracles actually happen, is you actually help people believe in more, believe in what is possible, believe in the impossible. And then by way of manifesting, and by the way of the power of the thought and beliefs, they actually cause it to happen. So in your case, yes, grieve the loss. Absolutely let it go. It's like a rope in your hands that's giving you a rope burn. Just let go. It's like, okay, this is uncomfortable. I'm not enjoying this. But the minute you just let go of the rope and let that person go and do what they got to do, be the person they've got to be, meet the people they need to meet, and then grieve the loss, acknowledge the beauty and the wonder you had with that person. And as soon as you feel like you've done all that, you've been down in the depths, you've felt all the feelings, you've missed them, there'll come a time where you'll just need to decide and say, that's enough. Now I move on. Now I get up and I move on because I have more living to do. I have more loving to do. And the next person come along, if that person was pretty great, well, the next person, because see, if you have someone that's great and you learn, you're doing all this process you're going through, you're teaching yourself what you require in love, because you're noticing things with that person that weren't quite working, right?
That's correct.
Things that weren't fitting.
There are some misalignments that were glaring. And
that's where the friction and the pain comes from. If two people try to force a relationship that isn't aligned or in divine resonance, then there's a lot of friction and back and forth and what can look like game playing. It might not be intentional. Half the time we play games, but it's completely subconscious. We have no idea what we're doing. Most people are just running on a complete audio narrative in their head. They do not know. That's why I said also a long time ago, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It means we all just are doing our very best. We have no idea what we're doing. We just got a certain script or narrative written inside of our brain and inside of our soul that we act this way to get this. Or we do that to get this, we do this to get that. If I do this, my parents will love me and approve of me. If I don't, then... So then when we get older, then we just automatically, without thinking about it, project it on the partner or the friend or the other person. And then that other person has other scripts that contradict the one that they have. And then next thing you know, you're in an argument and you don't even understand how you got there. So
that's pretty much what happened. So,
oh, yeah.
Zero to asshole, just like
just
that.
Just that fast,
yeah.
huh?
So I guess what was the Celestine prophecy that would call those control dramas, or our trauma programs. And I have mine. I can definitely see how mine were playing out. The ones that are familiar to me that clearly need more healing as they're being in this situation. So there's a grieving period, and then there's a looking forward. But would you say like that the beautiful prayer? Let me recite that. Make sure I got it right. Father, Mother, grant me the strength, the courage, and the peace of mind to do that which I need to do.
Yeah.
And so there's a prayer that I guess, like having that, asking God, Father, Mother, for all of the above, to get to that next place, because you have to be something different. You're emptying out. The grieving is the emptying and letting go and releasing, but you have to be filled with something else. If we're releasing a relationship or a bond and an old way of being, and we're aware of like what we're contributing. I'm fully aware of my part I played in getting me here, and getting the painful result that I experienced. I definitely played a part in that, and the behavior is very, very familiar to me. It's just like it's automatic. So we need help to get that out of us, to release that, to let that go, so that we can become and have something else come in its place for what's coming next. So we can become the kind of person that's worthy of attracting what we need.
Yeah.
Of reflecting what we need.
I guess that goes back to our guru video that we did, you and I. To me, that's what a guru is. It's just someone who's been somewhere that you're now going, and you need a little bit of like illumination on the path, or what's going on. Or because I was thinking about what you had shared with me, and you could say I'm drowning, or I'd rather not be doing this, or I can't handle this anymore to someone, but they're still not going to really understand completely what you're going through unless they themselves have actually traversed those depths. And it's incredibly uncomfortable. And I guess in some areas of this journey, I've kind of taken kind of a little bit of a blunt perspective with the situation you've been traversing. But I guess it's because sometimes it's so glaringly obvious to the others sitting outside. Because I was even thinking about that this morning, how when I'm in my challenging places, I get the same thing that you've asked of me in the last few days. I get that same thing from Father or from Mother. I get that same. I was going over that this morning about when I'm in those places and I have no answers, or it's a place I haven't been, and I don't know what to expect, and I'm nervous, or I don't know how it's going to go. It could go horribly wrong. But that prayer there that I share, that's just a way for me to get from not knowing what to do or how to do it to the other side. Hopefully the other side. Hopefully I make it. Because, I'm sure you feel that way today too. It's like, how am I going to get from here to, And
I just realized something. Much of the time, sometimes when people are in a process of breaking up, they focus on getting angry and devaluing the person they were with, and just kind of looking at all the bad things about them that maybe they turned a blind eye to. But maybe that has its place, but could that possibly just keep you more attached to the person by focusing only on the bad and not grieving the loss of what was good?
Yeah, it's really hard to just let go. Like there's always so many things we want to like think through and analyze what she said or he said or what they said, and really get into it to validate and justify what we're doing, or validate and justify why it's happening, or that it's a good thing that this is all unraveling in front of my face here. The hardest thing to do is just let go and just say, don't know, don't care, I can't control this thing that's happening in front of me. And that is magic. If you can just say, all right, I did what I could do. It came to a head. The head blew up. And now here we are. All right, I'm out. And I don't mean giving up. There are relationships that require you to fight, to actually stand your ground, don't back down, and actually push through the hard times. But when you notice that you're in a relationship you're trying to force to happen or force to be something that it isn't naturally, it'd be like sitting there shouting at a tulip, telling it to be a rose. It's never gonna happen. Those two flowers will never instantly change into each other. If you want a rose, go find a rose. If you want a tulip, by all means. But if the person, and that's the thing, going through this process right now for you is the teaching, is the learning. By you doing this, you are learning your value, one. You're learning what you need, so that's a step towards knowing thyself. So you've seen a reflection in this person. Now you're seeing that that isn't quite what you wanted to see reflected back. So now it's time to take note of all of the things that it's trying to teach you about you. What does Jason really need? What does Jason really want? What does he value? How does he want to be treated? Then shift your focus from the person who can't give you that and start focusing your attention back on you so that you can get squared away with what you really do want and need. Not in a needy sort of way either, just like, what kind of partner do I want in my life that would really accentuate, complement, and take me to places that I really want to go? Then, just by holding that vibration, you'll draw the right person towards you to teach you the next lesson. So, the codependent thing is really probably the majority of what most people face in these types of circumstances, because it's just that fear of loss and that fear of being alone. If I was to look back, I would tell you, I remember exactly the moment that I got so cozy and comfortable and content being alone. Like, I remember I even said to myself, I said, this is how I want to do the rest of my life. I want to be single, because after all the thrashing and the fighting and the being scared, I never had much trouble being alone. So I have to own up to that. I've always really loved my own company, because when I was a kid, I got ignored a lot in the sense of there were so many brothers and sisters running around, you didn't get much one-on-one time. So I just learned to enjoy myself. I learned to be with myself. But when I finally started to get really comfortable about not finding my twin flame or my divine partner, or whatever you want to call it, that's the moment when she snuck up, and there she was right in front of my face, and I wasn't expecting it. So what I'm saying is going through the struggle, going through the loss, and facing that fear of being afraid of being alone is the very thing that paves the way for you to be free of it. And then it can be given to you in a beautiful, loving way, instead of hunting it down and fighting for it and resisting all the time.
Obsessing over it.
Obsessing, yeah.
There is a thing called the specific person in the manifesting community. And lots of energy put around manifesting a specific person. And even some of this just sounds like insanity to me, like trying to change people who are not behaving the way you want. What do you have to say about that?
Is it a new thing, new trend?
It seems to be like a trend on YouTube, right?
Like
the law of attraction communities and manifesting communities.
Well, that whole thing is somewhat, the manifestation is real. It's just that when you're, let me see how I can, I've been meaning to try to explain this one very clearly. There's two different types of thought. There's intuitive thought and there's egoic thought. Egoic thought thinks, okay, I want things to be just a certain way. I want it to look like this. A lot of people will make the list, he's got to look just like this, got to be just like this, got to have all these attributes, blonde hair, great eyes, great ass, whatever it is. They'll make the list. That's egoic. You're trying to satisfy, and pacify a list of things you think are criteria that you want and desire in a person, but some of them are motivated by a sense of validation or needing validation or vanity or needing to be quenched or satisfied. Whereas divine mind or the divine thinking, intuitive thought, doesn't do that. It a good example of it is the phrase when I said, let your will be done, not mine, Father. That's referring to that same thing. That was a divine acknowledgement. I was acknowledging the will of the divine. It wasn't even about Father in its totality. It was about the whole of creation in this moment. What would you have me do? Versus what my ego wanted, which was to run, to get out of there, to flee, to be free from danger and free from harm, which it knew. So that's the same thing with the manifesting thing. People are trying to control spirit, and that's not the way it's done. You can't control spirit. It has to flow. Nature doesn't allow that. The divine doesn't allow that. So they're not in alignment. So you got to get in line with. So if you want the right partner, you don't make a list and try to force it. You feel what it would be like to have that person in your life. You feel them. You surround yourself. I used to go, right before I met my beloved Pistis Sophia, I used to go up in my rock area and I would just imagine her. I tried my best to keep it open. I didn't try to single it down to certain attributes of her body. I tried to feel the feeling of what it would be like to be with her again. And I would hold that feeling. And so that feeling's what magnetized me to her, not my thoughts. Though I did have things I thought it would be, but I later discovered that those were all just egoic fixations or egoic preferences or whatever. So I think there's a lot of the stuff that you're seeing right now in the spiritual community, and I'm going to call it straight out, a lot of the stuff that's going on is more distortion, more ego distortion of a practice that used to be pure and divine.
So again, beautifully said. So the pure and divine, there's a feeling, and it's something that transcends on a heart level. And there's an alignment once again with you, first within yourself, and then with what's out there as well. And it's just something that transcends again the kind of safety checklist that the mind wants when it's there. Mm-hmm. There's the Van Halen song, "How Do I Know When It's Love?" Like nothing's missing. It's like a lyric. There was the Van Hagar, if you will, the Sammy Hagar song.
Sammy Hagar, yeah.
But I think that sums that up pretty good. And
well, that's the difference between aligning yourself with the divine versus aligning yourself with your ego. So your ego will want everything to be a certain way. It has to, because its job is to make sure you survive. Whereas the divine says, just surrender and allow me to show you the way. Yes, it will be painful. Yes, there will be moments where you don't know, like you letting go. The divine is trying to say, this isn't serving you anymore. It's time to move on. We've got bigger and better things for you.
There was, and I would say this situation for me was very confusing because there were moments where I felt that heart connection. I felt the divine connection. And then there were other moments where I didn't feel that connection, but it was like I was trying to hold on to that, but it was very fleeting. It was not consistent in this particular situation. And something I realized through this experience is I need a consistency. The consistency is very, I am a pretty consistent person, and that's needed for me. And
is that what you notice? Is that what it all brought up to the surface, is what you need out of a relationship?
And absolutely, yeah. I think that was a great value of this, of learning for me. of what I needed and what was missing. And again, like you say, you can't really control people. You have to allow people to be who they are, and either you're okay with it, even if it's in alignment with what you need, or you're not. Yeah. And so in my situation, I was not okay, and that's why I had to do what I did.
Yeah, that's you being honest with yourself. That's what that's what your name implies. Being the shadow teacher means I'm going to own the shadows, so that then I can really shine my light to be the warrior of truth. Because you're in a catch-22 there. If you want to be the warrior of truth, you first have to face down those shadows and show them that they have no power over you. And relationships are one of the biggest minefields for our shadows, for our triggers, for the things that we can't overcome. Intimate relationships and kids are the single most challenging aspect of our own inner growth, because they make us look at everything we haven't dealt with, everything that we can't understand or can't tolerate or don't deal with or have no patience for. And so the more we're able to actually face the shadows and go in them and diffuse them, go in them and make them vanish by showing the light of truth in there, they automatically will disappear, because you'll realize they weren't really valid or true. So you needing this certain individual to sustain, to satisfy, you just noticed, from what I can tell, there was just this misalignment with what you wanted versus what you were getting. And so if that's the case, the more you try to force that, the more friction and disharmony it will cause. But by just letting go and saying, well, whatever it'll be, is whatever, just let it be, instead of forcing. And that's the difference between your ego wanting to make it a certain way versus divine just saying, all right, I'll let go. I'm going to just let it be.
Yeah, there's something to letting go in love as well, and just allowing people to be who they are. And the other side of this person wanted me to be something as well for them that was out of alignment with what I was, with my needs. And so the whole thing was misaligned in that sense. So,
and I think another misconception in the spiritual community is this beat around the bush, be super kind, don't ruffle feathers bullshit. It's total BS. There's true spirituality actually requires you to be a badass, because there's no room for half measures. There's no room to hide behind any illusions in the process of enlightenment or in the process of knowing thyself. Because if you aren't clear about who and what you really are, the world's going to thrash you all different directions to show you what you really are. So with the spiritual community and thinking that, oh, well, I have to be nice and it had to end a certain way and I shouldn't have said that or I shouldn't have done this. You know, life's life. We have feelings, and I think it's more divine to be oneself in its authenticity rather than to try to augment and force yourself to be something or a way that you're not feeling in that moment. It's better to be real with the person.
Well, this is another theme with people who struggle with codependency, with people pleasing, being overly accommodating. Behind all that eventually builds up rage.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where you get to habitually give up yourself, but you're not doing it from an authentic place. You've lost yourself. You've gone past that point. Underneath all that nice guy or nice person accommodation, there's a rage that builds up. That's a resentment that is very visceral under that, and at some point that resentment and rage can't be suppressed.
Yeah, and it'll come out in any way. Yeah,
and it's going to come out.
Yeah,
and so again, that's an authentic feeling. And you did mention earlier, if we were able to end relationships as mercifully as we got in them, a little bit of a contradiction to what we're saying, because when you have that rage, that anger, that disgust or disdain for a person, or when you've lost respect for somebody, it's very, very hard to...
Well, all that discomfort, rage and anger and misalignment at the end of a relationship is because we still haven't mastered ourselves enough to let go gently. It's like, I'm going to leave a few cuts before I go because you're an ass. I don't like you anymore. This didn't work the way I wanted it to. So when I said that before, what I'm saying is to go into a relationship as gracefully as you can exit it. That I'm simply saying that to really know yourself and what you want, like as an example, if someone came to me and said, I can't be around you anymore, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. At first might be a little surprised, but I'd say, so is that how you really feel? Is this a genuine feeling and sentiment that's been building for a while? Or is it just, circumstantial of something that was done or said? Okay, well, it's real for you. This has been building for years, and I'd say, okay, well, if that's really how you feel, then I hope you move on to find bigger and better and more beautiful relationships. And I'm honored and grateful to have had the interaction and the love that you shared. Because when we get upset at the end, that's because we're still trying to get love. We're still trying to get... The reason why they get mean at the end is because we're still trying those last-ditch efforts to get that person to get the message that you're not seen and that you should be loving them.
And for the record, I was the mean one here.
Well, and I mean, but the thing is with a misalignment of your true feelings behind the scenes, now you're owning up to your true feelings and stepping out, which is good because that allows you to actually be honest with yourself. And because a really good relationship should be, you have to be honest and completely clear with yourself first, then the other person knows what to expect. And there's no way to do that perfectly. That's never going to happen. Everybody in a relationship is always going to have misunderstandings and things we don't understand about each other because we're just two totally different people. But as a general rule, I'm just saying that it would be better to be authentic and express your true feelings. There is nothing wrong with confrontation now and then. There really isn't. As a matter of fact, sometimes the most loving thing that can be done in certain situations is a confrontation because you're asking that person to step up and be better, and yourself too. Sometimes people should come to you and say, you know what, that was what you did the other day, that I didn't like that at all. And there's different ways to handle it, but if you can come to the person and say, that really hurt my feelings when you did that, man. That was messed up. It kind of pissed me off. I kind of want to hit you. And I'd be like, well, maybe you should, but I didn't know that. I'm so sorry. So there's just different levels of being able to really be yourself. But, a good confrontation, sometimes it helps people level up and get to another space.
Yeah, so one of my favorite holistic wellness gurus, mentors, teachers is Paul Chek, and one of the things he says is that confrontation is necessary for relationships, but the key is you have to stay connected at the heart.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
And one of the frustrations I found is when I was wanting to address something, then I felt I was getting dismissed. Mm-hmm. And so again, that's part of a misalignment. If you're continuing to be dismissed, and then the rage then builds up at that point because the issue is never truly addressed in a heartfelt way.
Yeah.
And
that's where relationships are work, because there's a certain amount of things you got to do to build it, and then to sustain it, and then to make it long lasting. It's kind of like maintaining anything. You've got to make sure you put a little care and a little time into it. I've had to learn that lesson myself, just in respects to trying to deal with the situation of the world and Ahriman and all of the things that are going on, while still trying to maintain loving, connected relationship, and there are times where even I can't connect because I'm so, to say despondent would be putting it mildly, but from the brutality of the warfare. And that also goes to another thing I wanted to say about you and falling into the abyss. You know, I have a joke that I say sometimes that I eventually realized, you know, that rock bottom wasn't a bad place to be anymore. It was a place where I built my vacation home. Because rock bottom it's your bedrock. It's where you know everything is. It's you got something you can count on. You know what your bottom is. And so if you know where rock bottom is and you've been there, well, that means you're now capable of handling it. You're not dead, you know, you survived the last few days. But that process of getting familiar with rock bottom is where really great, strong, and I would even say loving and compassionate people are birthed from. If you do research about people who have been successful, most of them have had rough childhoods, or they've had a rough path to their success, because it taught the things that they endured as they were trying to get to where you now see them was very painful and very challenging. So it forged this inner strength inside of them that they now are able to do the things that are harder for most people, because they have an inner fortitude, inner strength. So when you go down to rock bottom, to me, when I first started going down to rock bottom, it freaked me out, and I was scared, and I thought I was in trouble, and I was going to die, and so many times. But after a while, I started noticing this repeating pattern that just kept going down there, and then I'd come back up and down. But eventually, it got more and more frequent, and then I realized that that was a place I just needed to get comfortable with being. And once I did that, miracles started to happen inside of me, because I realized it didn't break me and it didn't kill me. I'm still standing and I'm still sucking air. So, you know, and that's the same thing with Ahriman, with the devil. My dealings and confrontation with him for so many thousands of years, it just got to the point where it's like, all right, this is just what it's going to be. This is how it's going to go. Every life I'm going to stand up. I'm going to say so. And then he's going to kill me. That's what I just got used to that. Or I'm going to have to fight him, or, you know, whatever the problem is. So I just got used to, even in this life, you know, as we're cutting these videos, when I'm cutting these videos and stuff, I'm always very well aware that there could be a point where this very thing you and I are doing right now get me killed. I've had dreams where they come in and they black bag me and take me off, and then I'm going down this elevator into this underground bunker facility, deep, deep, deep underground. You know what I'm talking about, like the Area 51 and you know, alien base underground type thing. And they take me down there, and I know that's it. I know no one's ever going to see me again.
Well, if that's happening to you, what's happening to me, because I'm doing this with you?
Well, I think it's who's ever running their mouth is more important. But
well, you know, to be fair, if that's what it takes to get the truth out, so be it.
Well, and that's the thing about, you know, see, there's liberation in the abyss. Everyone thinks it's going to swallow them, but what I noticed was the minute I just said, you know what, I'm yours. Just rip me apart. Just take me down, drown me out, and there's going to be nothing left of me. Once I surrendered to that inevitability, I was a free man, because I was then able to live free with my own center, with my own sense of integrity, and not be fearful of all the other things. Like in your case, not being loved again, or like you were just loved. Not being loved like she loved you or he loved you. That is freeing, because once you desensitize yourself to that kind of pain, then you're really free to love. So the things that you've been noticing inside yourself, once you're free of that, to not want to try to cling on to someone or force something to work, then you're really able to love, because you're not limiting the love. You're not binding that person up in expectations and limitations and judgments. You're just going to let the next person be more of themselves, and they'll probably be more in alignment with you because you've realigned yourself off of this last person that was teaching you, your teacher. She taught you something to move forward with and to grow with, and so the next person will probably be just that much closer to the mark because you are. So.
And something just popped up in me, there's something freeing about telling the truth. Like if you are in a situation where you've been holding back out of fear, once you tell the truth and you go to that uncomfortable place, there is a freedom there. You know, there is a freedom of like, okay, shit, I said it. I said what I meant.
Yeah.
I put that out there, and then now is the next level, which is doing what you say, which is acting, following through with what you say. I'm in the process of that. And then the next would be becoming the next version of yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I've been noticing you doing these last few days. It's like, okay, I said it. And this really hurts. This is painful. Was it because I said it? But there's this undeniable, you damn right I said it. There's an undeniable, yeah, but I feel so much better having said it. It's off my chest. That anger and that resentment is a little relieved because now I'm not faking it anymore. And I have a terrible time with that because I can't. Every life most of them, not every life, but a lot of the lives I've lived, I just can't keep my mouth shut because I cannot stand injustice. I cannot stand, and it doesn't matter whether it's a relationship or whether it's, this or the world.
So you read my mind too. I think we had like a moment of synchronicity, but I want to bring Aram on. I want to bring the devil into this. How does the devil factor into these relationships, whether it be romantic relationships, friendships? What's the devil's role in this and in the process with me? How do I have a relationship with the devil right now? We talk about God already, Mother, Father. How's the devil going to factor into it?
It's the same as the two types of thought that I was speaking of, the egoic thought and the intuitive divine thought.
So the egoic thought so the devil is going to be that temptation to want to go back on your word, to be insincere out of just fear of loss. That's going to be what the devil tugs you at, to pull you back into the cycle that's going to diminish you, that's going to keep you from becoming the higher version of yourself. That's how the devil is going to play into this.
Yes, and I think the fact that you brought this up is I'm really glad you did. This is because my wife always tells me that she always says, just tell them how it works inside of them. Tell them how it applies to them and their experience. And so I want to, in light of that, okay, so what you have is there's not just two aspects of yourself, but when we talk about God and the devil, what we're talking about is there's energies, there's a power, and there's voices inside of you that are of love and connection and compassion and unity and faith, strength and courage and all of the virtues. But there's also an aspect inside of you that will say, you shouldn't have done that, or maybe you should go back on that word, or maybe you could just get that for free. Maybe you could just take that right now, or maybe just don't call that person back. I mean, it could be so many things for so many people, but those voices are the ones inside of all of us that when we bring up the devil, if we say Ahriman or Kronos or the devil or any of the words that are associated, Enlil, those words we're talking about an individual, spiritual individual who embodies those tendencies or those skill sets or those traits or those proficiencies. So there are two aspects inside of you. One will tell you at every turn the lie that you most want to hear. Completely. It will be like, okay, yeah, you can get away with that now. Just go ahead and do that. Or just go ahead and say those awful, mean things right now. They deserve it. They got it coming. But there's also a part of you, a voice inside of you that is completely and totally about love. It will, and I notice that that one, surprisingly, lately is less familiar to everyone. They do it during the course of a day, but I'm noticing that it's harder, it's almost as hard for people to identify the love of God in them as it is to identify the fear of the devil in them. They're so intertwined and complex and subtle. I was listening to Motivation this morning, and I think it was Jocko Wilkins or Wilco or whatever.
Jocko Willing.
Jocko Willing. I was listening to him this morning, and he was saying that same thing, but in a motivational workout, beast mode type of way. But what he was basically saying was the same thing I'm saying. There's that, and so was David Goggins. He was saying how you can give into that voice that tells you to push the snooze button. You can give into that voice that tells you not today, it's my birthday. You can give into that voice, but that's the very thing that will separate you from people who accomplish great things. And that's the hardest thing of all, is to listen to those voices correctly, to decipher between the two. So what I had to learn to do with him is I had to go in here and find him. I had to go in here and route him out. I had to go in here and win the battle here first, so that I don't deviate or get confused or sidelined by that damn voice that always wants me to self-sabotage, to not love myself, to not think I can do it. I get up every day and I have to keep soldiering on in the face of his adversity. And I have to make that sometimes so deliberate that it requires me to get up, dust myself off, and get back in the battle. And it's the last thing I want to do, but it's the first thing I must do. So that's where I speak about rock bottom.
Okay, so let's play this. What is the devil telling me right now?
The devil is telling you right now, first of all, to text that person, to call that person, to go back to, I love those walks, I love those talks. Because right now I'm so alone. Right now I have got nothing. Right now I'm useless without her because she made me feel this way. Here's what the voice that you should encourage.
Yeah, what does God say to me right now?
What does God say to you right now? God right now is trying to say, you are the source of your own love and fulfillment. And go on those walks with yourself. Enjoy yourself first. Then the right person will come along. So a lot of times what God asks you to do is a whole lot harder. And I can attest to this. And I think that's why people, they look at me and think, oh my gosh, this guy's claiming this. It's crazy. Can't be that. But the truth is service to God has literally cost me everything. So the voice in me that tells me to do the right things has cost me everything. Whereas if I just did the devil's way, it would have been a lot easier.
Let's go. What else is God telling me right now? What else is God telling us? I think the devil's. It's the easy stuff. It's the easy comfort. You eat the pizza and beer when drink the beer when you're overweight. But what else is God saying to me? Go and walk.
Learn to be yourself enough and listen to yourself enough to find your own value. And most importantly, what God is trying to tell everyone is that God is inside of you. Actually, in truth, God lives in every cell and every DNA strand in your body. It's actually written in the code. So God inside of you is trying to tell you, you are enough. You are the beauty. You are the wonder. You should be valuing yourself more than everyone around you first. And then after you've valued yourself and seen the gift that you are, then you can turn around and offer it to the people who deserve that value. So God's trying to show you that you're amazing. The neediness comes from the other voice telling you you're not. That's why you're trying to go out to someone. That's why you're trying to cling on to someone. It's because they showed you a good reflection that reminded you of something you liked, and so you want to keep it. It's like, don't walk away with that mirror. I was just enjoying the view. I was enjoying what I was seeing reflected back at me. But God in you, see, that's why people get confused too. God in you is trying to say you are divine. You don't need a partner to show you how divine you are, or a partner to show you how wonderful you are. And you certainly don't need a partner to love. You have you to love. You can love yourself right here, right now. You can do it tonight. You can do it tomorrow. And you also are you are the power and the miracle. You can do the miracles. You can be the expression of love and joy and camaraderie that you have when you're talking to that other person. I often do it to myself in the mirror. I speak in the mirror when I need to. When I say, you got this, or, when I need a little pep talk, I'll just say, get up, shake yourself off, and get back at it. You got this. It's not nothing you haven't done a million times. So it's that voice in you that will always encourage you, that will always tell you you're enough, that you're badass enough, you're strong enough, handsome enough. And you personally need to hear that, that you really are an amazing man. I mean, what you and I have been doing with this content, we just thought we'd start out and give it a whirl, But look at the things that we cover together, and the way that you handle the conversations is a wonderful gift. So that's what God's trying to tell you, is be the powerful, mighty, beautiful, sensitive soul that you really are. It's I don't want to go back to this, but I need to. It's just like the Christ thing. Yes, I am the Christ in the context of the narrative, in the journey. I remember all of the, being Father's firstborn son, and I remember the whole thing as it unfolded. But the reason I'm so adamant about that is because so are you. You are a glorious angel that's very powerful, and to say mighty would be a mild expression. And you also have an incredible gift. I was just thinking about it before the interview. You have an incredible gift of you're really clear about what you're getting at. Like, you're really clear about the topics, and it's hugely helpful for me to stay focused. But even more than that, if I could take you right now to what you looked like, who you were before you incarnated in this realm, the discussion of who I am would be over, because you'd realize that you are too. You are a glorious angel that's just... So when you hear the voice of God inside of you, it's trying to remind you of that you are limitless, that you are profound, that you are divine, that you are the amount of light and love and glory that fills your being is so profound that if someone was to sit in your presence in your true state, they would probably die from heart attack, because your presence would be too much. It would be too profound and glorious for them to sit in a physical body next to you. And that's the voice of God. That's what it's trying to tell you deep down. And the thing that drives me crazy is I'm just trying to own that for everyone else to do the same. I'm not trying to say I'm better than. Matter of fact, half the time I think I'm a piece of work, and I can't. I've asked Father how many more times than I can count, why did you ask me to do this? I ain't got this. This is not going to work if you... I can't handle the whole government and all the people and the Illuminati and the black nobility. You got to... I can't handle all this, Dad. That's what I think a lot. And I'm thinking, okay, but I am who I am, and I'm my Father's son. He knows what he's doing, right? Or else we wouldn't be here. And that's exactly the way I think about you. So for me, when I'm looking at you in these relationships, the voice that I hear is, wow, no, he deserves, for what he is and what he would like to see in his life, he deserves way more than he's getting out of that. Not that there's anything wrong with the other person. It's just that there's a misalignment, and it's clear. It's like, oh no, I know what you're all about and I know what they're all about. They need this and you need this. Not to say that I always know what you need. I'm just saying that I can see that you need someone really great that just wants to be all about what you're all about. That doesn't ever question if you make enough money or you do this right or you're like that enough or you're not the provider or whatever the stupid narrative that we all come up with. The voice of God in you, in very subtle ways, is trying to say, no, be you. Don't be like they want you to be. Don't change yourself to fit them. Be you, completely, unapologetically. And that, when we talk about the light worker community, the whole, divine, I don't make anybody mad, I never have any feelings, I'm completely centered, and I'm enlightened, it's crap. We're all people, we're all humans, we all have feelings, we all have passions, we all love to make love, we all love to connect, we all love to laugh. Sometimes we even like a good confrontation. Some people do. I don't like it myself, but we all are what we are. And so God is trying to tell you to just be you. Like, be you. Don't let the world tell you all the time what you have to be. Don't minimize and people please. People pleasing is it's a psychological thing where we don't feel enough or like we have much to offer, so we'll do things to get reactions out of the peers or people around us that demonstrate whether we're accepted or not, usually the leaders or the people that run our world a little bit. And we do things in order to get favorable reactions from them. And if we get favorable reactions, then we keep doing it. So, and in intimate relationships are very much that way. So, hypothetically, let's take this as an example. Let's say we approach a girl, right? And the girl kind of seems like she's interested. You walk up to her, she seems interested in you. But then after a little conversation, she just turns away and ignores you. You get hurt, right? It's like rejection. It's like, oh, ouch. Okay, that wasn't. So then you think you're a little less. You think you're a little less worthy of a girl like that. So then maybe next time, maybe you'll try it again. You walk up to another girl, same quality, same type of person. Let's say the same thing happens. Then the next time you kind of say, okay, maybe I should try someone a little less attractive or a little less confident, Maybe it'll work out better for me. So that's an example of how we all do it. Some people do it with intimate partners, some people do it with their kids, some people do it with their parents. Parents are automatically a role player. They're automatically alphas because they tell us what we have to be all the time growing up. We have to play by their rules or we're in big trouble kind of thing going on. But then it carries over into pharmaceutical companies, it carries over into food companies, it carries over into Oprah, it carries over into anybody, the government, Putin, Biden, whoever you want to call it, whoever supposedly is in power. But what the voice of God tells me is they're all full of shit. And they all need to get their heads straightened up so that they're not dicking around with all these people and using that power that they have and abusing it to make the people do anything less than reach for the divine and for God.
And you just call them, you call them on their bullshit, literally.
Yeah, and that's always been my tick. I have a tick.
You call them on their bullshit and you accept the consequences of that.
And that's why they always kill me. See, that's what people don't understand is they didn't kill me because I was some God incarnate. They killed me because I was divulging this secret occult personality, the secret society.
This all goes back to what this video is about. When you call someone on bullshit and you walk away and you accept the consequences of that, and sometimes that can be painful. Sometimes like And but when you do it, there's a freedom that comes with that.
And just get used to the pain. Like it won't kill you. That's what all those motivational speakers are trying to tell everyone.
It's not going to kill you.
Just get stronger. Don't acquiesce because of the pain. There's not a single Navy SEAL.
The Illuminati might. But
yeah, they might. Well, there's not a single Navy SEAL that ever made it through training because they backed down.
We're violating YouTube's conspiracy
policy
in this video. So.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, this has been a great conversation. Very intimate one, vulnerable one for me, but if this helps somebody else, like it inspires them who may be going through some kind of heartache or going through self-doubt or something similar, I hope this helps and lets you know that you're not alone and there is another side. I'm not quite yet to the other side, but one step at a time, crawling through the darkness. And we're just going to end it here. Jonathan, thank you.
You're welcome, Jason. Thanks, man. I'm really honored that you'd open up and share that openly with me and with all the viewers. It's really nice to see, into you and get to know you even more as we go along. So thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Adios. We'll see you in the next Revelation conversation.